So, as we continue with analysis, Chad Thomas, IRS Forensic Investigations CEO, is joining us via Zoom. Chad, good afternoon. Thanks for your time here on the SABC.
Good afternoon.
Let's look at what just transpired, the news coming in. Does this escape in any way indicate a failed corrupt system that has not yielded the results that privateers, in fact, had vouched for? What's your take?
Look, South Africa is in the midst of a horrific violent crime cycle at this point in time. We needed this win for the good guys. And make no mistake, the Tanzanian authorities would not have arrested the suspects if it wasn't for information provided by the South Africans. So this is obviously an intelligence-led investigation. It was an operation that took place last night. We've heard from the ministers how the suspects were followed from a hotel, how they were arrested 10 kilometers outside of another border post, and that various documentation was found in their possession. But when we talk about the system as a whole, this is one win that we really need, but it's really a tiny win in the greater scheme of things. We're seeing on a daily basis the growth in assassinations, the growth in CITs and ATM robberies, and we really need to see a more concerted effort by all law enforcement agencies, including those that can supplement them from the private sector. So I think off the momentum of this particular win, we should be able to see a lot more developments on other cases now coming forward.
We saw, questions in relation to G4S and its contract, coming to the fore again during the press briefing. The question is whether the contract should remain in place following the revelations by correctional services that it did not understand why, G4S appeared to be reluctant to tell the public about its role in the matter.
Well, as far back as 2019, when the paper was published, Merchants of Misery, which was made into a documentary known as Prisons for Profit, which was actually based on the Mangaung prison, there were clear indications then already, and that's 4 years ago, that G4S wouldn't be bidding when this comes up for bid in 2026. Their contract ends beginning of 2027. One must understand that the private prison business worldwide is phenomenally huge. If one looks just at G4S as a global player, their turnover pre-COVID 2019 was 7.7 billion pounds. So there is a growth worldwide in terms of private prisons. It costs us more as taxpayers to have these private prisons in place, and it doesn't seem to make any difference. Mangaung is our biggest prison in South Africa. It's the second biggest maximum security private prison in the world, yet it suffers with all the same problems that our government-run prisons are beset with. So I do not see why we should be engaging in prisons for profit when it's a role that should be played by the state.
Chad, now that this announcement has been made following the arrests, what is likely to happen now that Thabo Bester has been rearrested? Are we likely to see other people being arrested? Are we going to see top brass also being held accountable? There are a number of people involved. It seems to be a very sophisticated network.
I think what we're seeing with each high-profile case that's going out is the state is looking at different ways in which to create cooperation between the multiple role players and stakeholders. They're creating nodal points, they're creating fusion centers, and these are examples of how they can successfully move forward. I believe that off the back of this particular case, we're going to see a lot more momentum because obviously they brought together certain role players, they created a joint operational command, they determined how they would best run this, and obviously there was intelligence somewhere along the line that the suspects had left the country and they suspected where they may be and asked for the intervention of the foreign law enforcement agencies. Bringing them back to South Africa, I don't foresee much of a problem. They were illegally in the country, they can be deported. It's very different to the Bushiri matter and the Gupta matter. But like I said, what's critical is that our law enforcement agencies have to learn from every single success as well as every single failure. More so from the successes in how to put together tactical task teams that are made up of the technical and professional expertise that are able to run these projects, able to crack down on what has become a scourge in South Africa, and that's organized crime.
Chad, thank you for your time here on the SABC. Chad Thomas, IRS Forensic Investigations CEO, really just weighing in, reflecting some sentiments in the back of the rearrest of Thabo Bester, as well as Dr Nandipha Magudumana and a Mozambique national. We understand that from a press briefing that was held at 2 o'clock this afternoon, we saw Justice Minister Ronald Lamola as well as Police Minister Begicele. We also saw National Commissioner Fani Masimola really just highlighting what transpired since the arrest took place yesterday. The three were seen leaving Dar es Salaam en route to Arusha, and they were found with several passports. So as the deportation process gets underway and we continue to monitor the developments surrounding that story, we'll bring you the latest here on the SABC.